Hi, I'm Pastor Grant, the chaplain at Country House in Wilmington, Delaware. If you've ever played a sport or coached a sport, then you know what an impact a coach can be on a person's life, especially a young person's life. There was one coach named Skippo Hall. He coached football for over 30 years, and he helped lead teams, well, three of them, to the Rose Bowl and one to the Orange Bowl. And when asked about his success, he said it this way: one of the greatest things I've ever learned as a coach is I need to coach them up. You don't ever coach them down. I think that is good advice. And that's exactly what Paul is doing in the passage I want to talk about today, Colossians chapter 3, verses 1 to 14. He tells us that our daily personal position here on earth is to reflect our eternal place of honor at God's right hand. Think about that. Our daily personal position here on earth is to reflect our eternal place of honor at God's right hand. And he says that starts with our mind. He says you have to direct your mind to lead you in the way that you think, so that how you think on this earth is as if you were sitting in heaven. Paul knows if he's going to get us to understand and make the changes in our lives, we have to think correctly. And that is to direct our thoughts, our focus on the right things. The right things, the right direction, he says, is something that we do when we focus our mind upward. In verses 1 and 2, he says this, he says, set your sights on the realities of heaven, where Christ sits in a place of honor at God's right hand. Think about these things of heaven, not the things of earth. You see, he wants us to focus and recognize our association with Christ's death and his resurrection. And Paul points out that not only just that, but he also points out that Jesus was victorious and he ascended to the right hand of God, where you and I are spiritually united with him through our thoughts and attitudes, which come from that union with Christ. That's why he's asking us to direct our minds in such a way that we see ourselves as positioned in heaven, though we're living here on earth. In verse 3, he says this, for you died in this life, and your real life is hidden with Christ in God. And when Christ, who is your life, is revealed to you and to this whole world, you will share in all his glory. The command that Paul is getting us to try and understand is he's calling us to focus on matters related to the rule of Christ in this world in such a way that we put our values, we put our loves, we put our focuses to be devoted to making the rule of Christ number one in our minds and in our lives and in our worlds. Yeah. He says the opposite is true too. If you focus on the wicked world, it will drag you into its mire. What we are to do with our minds, according to Paul, is no different than what they taught you in your driving class. Do you remember the most important thing they taught you when you were taking driver's ed? Keep your eyes on the road. Believers, we're to keep our eyes, our focus, our sights focused on Christ and the realities of heaven. Because our daily personal position on earth is to reflect our eternal place of honor at God's right hand. And we do that by directing our minds to think on this earth as if you were sitting in heaven.